Now, first of all, the first news: violence in government job quota. Bangladesh urge all universities to close. So you should be aware about what is happening in Bangladesh, and there are mass protests that are happening in the university with respect to reservation issues in the and job quota issues in the university, and in the job market. So this is one thing, and we'll talk about this, that this is a recurring theme across the world. It's even happening in India, and we will analyze what has been done by Karnataka. Then very very strange news. I keep telling you, law is quite a fiction as well, and a drama as well. Now we read day before yesterday about a man who was from Assam, who was declared a foreigner by the Foreigners Tribunal, again reaffirmed by the Guwahati High Court, and then he had to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court questioned the fact that how has the foreign tribunal picked up this particular individual. This picking up of an individual cannot be random, and based on that, he was declared that he is a citizen. But what Indian Express has now found out is that this man has died over 2 years ago, and the lawyer who was fighting the case had never even spoken to or met the person's family. So this is the extent of comic and it's absolutely mind boggling that what happens in Indian judiciary. So this is one thing. Then a very very important news for you in terms of governance, because this is a recurring theme that you will see across different states. It's not the first time that a state has tried it, and in fact there is a landmark judgment by the Punjab and Haryana High Court on this particular issue. Now and we'll talk about the constitutional morality about it. Now there is a backlash that the Karnataka government has seen on the private sector quota bill. Now government sector, all the governments try to put a quota on, and then it has been reaffirmed by the judicial system that no, we will not allow quota more than 50%. We already know about these all these cases. The Indira Suwani case is one of the landmark judgments in this particular in cases of employment in the government sector. Now most of the political parties have a manifesto agenda of employment, since employment is a major concern in all states and in entire country. Now one way of putting a band-aid to this deep cut or deep problem is that they have asked for the companies or the private companies to hire local people. Now in this particular case, the Karnataka government was trying to enforce a reservation of 75% in non-management jobs in private sector and 50% in management jobs for local candidates. And the name of the bill was Karnataka State Employment of Local Candidates in Industries, Factories and Other Establishments. So this was basically targeting all the other the entire private sector which is being targeted, and it also said that for some sectors we will relax this particular case. So they said they will do that, but after it was circulated and it was not widely consulted, a number of champions of the industry like Kiran Mazumdar, who owns Biocon, and then your Pai, TM Pai, is it TM Pai or some other Pai, is also very famous authority, Mohan Das Pai, sorry, Mohan Das Pai, and other industry experts, NASCOM, all of them have said that this will reverse the progress of Karnataka, because then as compared to say Karnataka, if Maharashtra offers better people, better employment pool, then companies will shift there. So this is no way of fixing the employment problem. And yeah, I mean yes, you need to have that local culture, and yes, you will have that problem of diversity at times also is a problem, but at the same point of time, that is what a cosmopolitan city becomes once you open up your states to companies from different ethos. So this is something that you should have a fair idea about, and maybe the ethics related to it as well. Then The last news from the first page is a very important news, because as I have shown you in the AI with I showed you that in that class, AI with UPSC, how to use AI with UPSC and how to go about each particular topic of UPSC. Now, if you remember, I showed you how to approach governance, and in governance there is a topic called e-governance. And every year I showed you through PYQs, every year there is a question on e-governance, whether it's DVT or any other thing, positives of e-governance, negatives of e-governance, limitations of e-governance, all these things are being asked. But here you have another example of e-governance which can be asked, which is the digital vaccine card or national health. If you take national health or national e-health, so for the digitalization of the immunization map of children from the age group of 0 to 5, the government has launched the UWin portal. It's like a co-win portal, just like on the co-win portal you used to get the details of when you were vaccinated and how and by whom you were vaccinated, where you were vaccinated, at what time you were vaccinated. The UWin portal, which will be actively used by the ASHA workers and ANM workers, will have all this data, and people will get these SMSs once their this thing is due, once their vaccination is due. So in this way, what we are trying to cut out on is the zero vaccination cases. So if you see this, and we are going to read even more about it, by the way, you are trying to cut down on missing shots, people who miss their shots. So this is something that you are trying to cut down on. And zero dosage children who are not had any dosage. And the idea of UWin portal is to half the number of children who have zero dosage. And it will also help us to check people who have incomplete dosage. So if there is a 3 dosage regime and you're only having 2, then we will also be able to track who has not taken the 3rd dosage. So all of this is using digital e-governance, digital public infrastructure, and applying it to the area of this children and health. Another issue: President returns Punjab bill seeking removal of governors. In general, governor of a particular state is the chancellor of the state universities there. But this has been a major issue of between the or major thorn between the center and the state relationship when it comes to all the opposition ruling states, whether it's Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, or now it is Punjab as well. But all these issues were there, but Punjab has now issued a bill whereby they have asked for removal of the governor from being the chancellor of the state universities. But this is a bill that has been returned back to the state legislature. So you should be aware of state legislature, what are the president's power of the president with vis-a-vis the state legislature. All of this you should be aware of. Drop this bill. So drop this bill is again the same issue of Karnataka legislation. Now in this case I was telling you that this has been tried by Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, and the Punjab and Haryana court struck down a similar law in November last year. It said that the concept of constitutional morality has been openly violated by introducing a secondary status to a set of citizens not belonging to the state of Haryana and curtailing their fundamental rights to earn livelihood. So, in fact, the fundamental rights under Article 19 says that you are free to work and free to move. Your freedom of movement and freedom of work is also curtailed here. And again, equality between citizens again in Article 14 is also being violated. And therefore, this is against the constitutional morality, and it is like a penalty that you're employing on people from working out of the state. And apart from that, the private sector is also going to suffer, because India is not anyways able to create enough job for its youth, and then asking the state, asking and creating a new bureaucratic architecture to oversee the hiring of in the private sector is also going to be very problematic. The compliance cost is going to be huge, and in fact India is going to lose because of policies like this. Then the second article, holding steady. Now if you see you should know about the reports that are published by 2 3 major organizations. The first is the IMF, which comes up with the World Economic Outlook. You should also know that what are the kind of documents which are released by World Bank, and what are the documents which are released by say UNDP, as well as World Economic Forum. So these 3 or 4 institutions, you should be aware of what are the kind of reports that these give. Now among the developing countries, what we have seen is that the overall the world economy is set to grow by around 3.2 to 3.3%, whereas the Indian economy is now set to grow around 7% because of the improved consumption patterns in the rural area. And all the other experts have also said that India's economy is probably well staged to grow good. But at the same point of time, it has also noted a highlight that disinflation. Now what is disinflation? Reduction in inflation. Now reduction in inflation is slowing down, and there are prospects of higher, even for longer, rate of interest. That means because the interest rates will not go down, the central banks across the world will not be able to cut the rates, which will have an impact on the investment cycles. The only exception being the European the ECB, which had come up with a rate cut recently. But apart from that, neither India nor US has gone for a rate cut. So this is the impact that we are having. Then just for fun, you can read this particular news, where a thief had written an apology note and not stolen anything from the house of a poet, Narayan Gangaram Surve. And you can maybe just read what his journey was, and why is it so special for a lot of people. Then you can read this article, The Real Trump Challenge and Stories of Our Own, but not very important from the point of view of exam. Now what is important is what's needed in Jammu. Now this basically article, we have talked a lot about the internal security challenges that we are facing. Now what has happened after the 5th of August 2019 is that the architecture of or the positioning or the approach that the Pakistani state has towards infiltration in the northern state has become different. Now they are making a new area of concern, which is the Jammu region instead of the Kashmir. So Jammu is becoming the new Kashmir in terms of the number of attacks and number of incidents that are happening. Now it has jungles, heights, and rocky terrain on the Pir Panjal and even Kishtwar range. There are large number of hideouts that are available along this. Now this basically article also talks about the fact that since the elections are coming in Jammu and Kashmir, that's why these cells are being activated. And Pakistan also wants to remain active in this entire discussion, and therefore that is its strategy. Now what is needed is, one, we need to have elections, because even in the past, when we had even worse situations, election did happen in 1996, elections did happen in 2002. So we should have these elections, but at the same point of time, we should also have a strong military response to this, and sweep and churn the entire Pir Panjal South range to neutralize all the terrorists, and use technology for it as well. So read about this particular article. Then again, the next 2 articles are not very important for us. Parental concern. Parental consent is mandatory or is important for the DPDP Act. Now this is basically an article which talks about the fact that we had come up with this Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. Now you should be aware about key aspects of this DPDP Act. How is it different from the executive? How is it different from the US model? How is it different from the Chinese model? How is it different from the UK model, which has the GDPR model? So you should be aware what is this DPDP Act. What are the key provisions of this? Well, one of the key provisions of the Act is to develop a framework to verify a child's age. So for example, if a child is going on Instagram and is not 18 years old, then what are the you have to take the parental consent. Now how would you take the parental consent is very important. Other countries do not give a description. All they say is that if there is an incident of privacy block, then we will ask the company that did you make an effort to get the parental consent or not. So that is their involvement. Now And the industry has also reached out to the ministry to seek out feasible solutions for age verification and parental consent. Now, one of the approaches was that the DigiLocker approach that was discussed, but that was not. That was not foolproof. There are global practices that are there, but these global practices of U.S. Children Online Privacy Protection Act, the COPPA Act, is basically the company must use parental consent, and instead the operator must choose the method reasonably designed in the available technology to ensure the person giving the consent is child's parent. So they leave it to the particular entity. For example, if Netflix is coming up with something, they leave it to Netflix how to get the parental consent for all kinds of movies. Then GDPR is one of the strictest laws, and it says that reasonable amount of effort should have been done by data collectors to collect data of children who are below the age of 13. So all of this is what is being discussed. Then a very, very important news, folks, for you, which is in this particular article you will be aware of number of things that are there in the capital market. Now in the capital market there are 3-4 kinds of investment option or investment products that are available. One is mutual funds. Now what is mutual fund? That suppose all of you in the class give me some amount of money that could start from 100 rupees, and you give it to me, and then on behalf of you I will then manage this small fund, and then I will give you some return. So suppose all of you pool and give me 100 rupees, I make 150 rupees out of that 100 rupees, and I'll then give all of you combined 180 rupees. Rest is my profit. This is what the mutual fund model is. Then you have something called as portfolio management services. The portfolio management servicer also does the same thing, but for him the minimum ticket size is not 100 rupees, is 50 lakh rupees. So until unless you have 50 lakh rupees, you will not be able to take my solution. Where should I park my money? Should I invest in gold? Should I invest in equity? Should I invest in debt? And therefore the portfolio management services are taken by rich individual, high net worth individual. Then you have another asset class which is called as it will be given here, alternative investment fund. Now alternative investment fund, just a second folks, give me 1 second. All right folks, sorry. So I was telling you about the other thing, which is the AIF. Now what is the AIF? Now this is a private pooled investment vehicle. Now where if sophisticated investor comes, like if I'm say the owner of a big coaching institute comes, and then few say Wajiram owner comes, and then next IS owner comes, and then other owners come, they all these come, Mitra sir comes, all these come together. They have huge amount of funds with them, and then they think of investment and a defined investment policy and how will it benefit. So they say that we 3 or 4 of us will come, and we will then create an entire, we will invest in this particular market, and then we will increase our valuation, and we will then distribute profit. That is called as an alternative investment fund. But the minimum amount of funds that you need to start an AIF is 1 crore rupee per investor. So these are for high end individuals. Now that means there is a gap that is there in the market. People who have an investment, say I have an investment limit of 10 lakh rupees up to 50 lakh rupees. That basically what happens is, people who are willing to invest up from say 10 lakh rupees to 50 lakh rupees will not like to go with the mutual funds, because mutual funds will give you 12-13%, and say they are not eligible for say a portfolio management services because they require 50 lakh rupees. So for them, what the people do is, people go to these unregulated this thing, I'll show you, unregulated fund managers. So basically the segment towards unregistered and unauthorized investment schemes which promise them unrealistic and high returns, and then exploit these. So what the SEBI is saying, that we will come up with this new asset class which will fund this, which will be in between this system, and then people can invest, and it will have the options of systematic investment plan, it will have systematic withdrawal, it will have systematic transfer plan. All these abilities will be there. And then the investment strategies can also be different. It could be a long short equity fund, whereby usually what people do is, people invest in the long format, that I invest in say Reliance at 1000, I expect it to be 1200 in some time. But a short is that I am selling Reliance at say 1000, and I'm expecting it to be 800 after some time. So that is a short. So it is a long, there could be a long short equity fund permission that could be there, and inverse ETF and fund, basically a fund that generates returns that are negatively correlated to the returns of the underlying index. So for example, the index is going up, the fund is going the particular this thing is going down, so stock is going down. So all these, so basically it's going to be a risky one as well, and that's why the return is going to be much higher as compared to mutual funds. So this is a new asset class that is being introduced. Then the next is the cabinet might soon take up the proposal of joining IPEF. Read about what Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity is. It has 4 pillars. We have already signed the 2 pillars. Pillar 3, which is clean economy, and pillar 4, which is fair economy, is something that we are signing. Pillar 2, which is just supply chains, we have already signed. So please read about this particular news as well. Then very, very, very important news, folks. This is the state of the informal economy. I've already sent it to you on the economics optional group. This is a very, very important topic that you need to keep. This article you need to keep because it gives you a good analysis. Now let us go through what this the article says. Now usually for the employment we have the periodic labor force survey data with us, but now we have also recently released, the NSSO has also released the annual survey of unincorporated enterprises. Now unincorporated enterprises basically means which are not registered enterprises, small and medium enterprises, household proprietary enterprises, owned and own enterprises as well. So it comprises of MSMEs, household units with hired workers, and own account enterprises. Now what is this own account? For example, if I am running a Panwadi shop, that is a owned account enterprise. It's an informal and I'm the only one who's carrying it out. But suppose I have a small toy shop where I am the owner and I have 2 workers with me. That is basically a hired worker, household units including with hired workers. So that is and then you have MSMEs as well. So these are the 3 kinds. Now what is very important is that they account for half of India's economic output and 3/4 of India's employment. So that is extremely important. They employ somewhere around they employ somewhere around see, if you see the number of workers, 10 this is 110, almost 110 million workers are there in this particular industry, which is the second highest after agriculture. So basically once you ignore the agricultural sector, this is the sector that you want to see how is it doing. And we have somewhere around 65 million centers for that, 65 million establishment who are employing these many people. Now what this analysis also tells us, what is the impact of the 3 shocks of the economy. We have already read about this, but we are doing it in detail. The 3 shocks being, the first one is the GST shock. The other is the first is the demonetization, then the GST, and then the COVID shock. Now what we have seen is that because with this result is that the informal sector plays, we already know it's a very important sector, especially for a country like India, which is labor abundant. We would want more people to be there in the in this particular class. And in any case, what Lewis model, if you remember Lewis model from economics, it basically says people will move from agriculture to the industrial sector, and ideally they will move from agriculture to say being a hired worker. But this is something that we don't see. The headline trends that we see is that only the owned account enterprises increased by 4%. Everyone else between 2015 and 2023 had deteriorated, which basically shows that labor intensity, especially in the manufacturing, has gone down, capital intensity has increased. And the other thing which is also reaffirmed by the PLFS is that there is an increase in the agriculture workers after COVID. The share of agriculture in employment has increased from 42% to almost 46%, and the share of women in agriculture has increased to 64% from 55%, which basically shows that there is some kind of stress in the entire market. And number of workers, as we have already discussed, number of workers have gone down, and the number of this thing establishment have increased, but the establishment that have increased are majorly owned enterprise establishment. That means people who are not able to find jobs are basically are creating their own small shops or centers. So this is the thing. Now manufacturing has taken the worst hit when it comes to the period between 2015 and 22, and then the trade sector had also contracted. Only the services sector had seen an increase. Now with respect to GVA, a very important thing, I have told you time and again to note this, that the deleterious impacts of the shock on the sector is the real GVA of the unorganized sector had grown between 7.4% between 2010 and 2015, but the CAGR had contracted by 0.2% between these two periods. So please take a note of this. Then fewer children vaxxed in 2023 than in 2022. You can think of this article as a continuation of the Coven article, not the Coven, the UN this thing, which basically says that the recently released WHO and UNICEF estimates of national immunization coverage show that the coverage of children in India has reduced under DPT vaccination. The zero dose children have actually increased, and children who have not completed their vaccinations have also increased. Therefore the requirement of UN app is extremely important. Then please read about behind heavy rains in large parts of India, monsoon trough shifts westerlies. Please read about this, what this is. You will understand it from geography. And that's about it. This is, today was a relatively smaller paper. So this is about our session, folks. I also asked you to read couple of articles from previous day, the editorial of previous day, not the ordinary Labharti. Please read that. It's a very good article. You can use a lot of anecdotes from that particular article in your essay, in your ethics, and it's a mind opening thing. So maybe try to incorporate something like that in your answer writing, especially in your essay. So with this we will wind up, folks, and I will see you tomorrow again at 5:15, maybe 5:20, and till then, all the best. See you tomorrow.